We're gonna give it a shot.
That was me. I put on your glasses. That's on me.
You put on my glasses.
Yeah.
Made me giggle a little bit.
Well, no, I'm just kidding.
Who knows? Like, why did we get a thumbs down? Is that
I think you hold it there.
what is that?
Look.
What else?
Oh, watch
Here,
it.
hey, take your yes.
Watch it.
There we go.
Watch it.
Ah.
Does it do it if you do a thumbs?
Oh, yeah.
Wow! Look at that.
Watch this. Another one. This is another one. Watch.
This is
Hannah taught me all these.
but this is Zoom. This isn't I don't know. That's
But it's
weird.
made by Apple, so it works.
Oh,
Watch it. Is it this one?
I don't know. All right, here we are.
We got balloons over.
We have balloons now. That has been it. I wonder if that's gonna record. I might keep that in here.
See if that pops up.
See if it pops up. I
Why
might keep
not?
this in here. Okay. Welcome to the NorthField podcast. I'm your host, Caleb Gordon, and with me today are my son Noah Gordon and his friend Carter Vaughn. I've been around long enough. I can consider you my son as well. So we'll just put you in the ranks here. And the plan is that I want to have a conversation with you guys in regards to friendships, faith, things that you guys are into. And we'll start with fun. I know you both like video games. So let's talk about favorite video games and why.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Red Dead Redemption 2, why?
Arthur Morgan.
You're a fan of Arthur Morgan? You like the masculine Arthur Morgan?
Mhm.
Okay. I like that as well. It's
a good game.
It is a fun game. I like
It's
Red Dead.
Star Wars geeks.
We are Star Wars geeks.
I like Star Wars, but it doesn't over. So
I like
Red
Star
Dead,
Wars.
Star Wars. It's
So Red Dead is number one for you, and then Star Wars
Call
or
of Duty.
Call of Duty. Okay, Call of Duty.
Call of
Where's
Duty.
Fortnite ranked? Is that number three?
It's gone down a lot, honestly. I haven't been playing it. It's gotten a little boring without, all the freaking updates and all that.
With all the without the updates?
It has still updates, but the Star Wars thing is out for May the 4th, even though it's May the 15th, right?
It's now the May the 15th. Yes.
So it's been like 11 days since that's out. I've played that a little bit. I tried the new bowcaster thing, bobber, used by Chewbacca.
Oh.
Yeah, it's in Fortnite.
I guess I did because I haven't played in a while. I don't.
Yeah, every year they do a Star Wars event for May the 4th.
Did they? So the update's still on there?
Yeah, they leave this.
Oh, I need to play then because
They've
that's
added a lot
my
of
favorite is
updates.
Battlefront too. I love it and I love playing. So I need to set that up and try it out. So Tia's new stuff.
Hmm?
I learned something,
Yeah,
folks.
the 11
I didn't know that Star Wars had an update.
Darth Vader's back.
Vader's back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hayden Christensen.
Hayden Christensen.
Are we talking about actors?
I mean, obviously we're talking about actors here, so yeah.
No.
No, yes, I guess we are.
Who's that? Oh.
I don't know. That's somebody walking by the window here. Okay, so your favorite video game, as Noah just said,
I like Battlefront. Battlefront is definitely top 5.
Your favorite game is Madden.
Right now, I'm gonna have to say Madden.
Why is Madden your favorite game?
I'm a quarterback, and I just love football. I mean, it's my sport.
See, I've
So
always been a guy that I couldn't stand football because it's so slow. I love fast-paced stuff. I'm super fast-paced all the time. And that's I think maybe to my detriment because people have looked at me and they said, Caleb, you need to slow down sometimes. You talk too fast. You say things too quickly. And so I think maybe that's maybe why I don't like football because when they're in the middle of a play, I'm like, okay, that's great. But then the setup, I'm like,
they stop and huddle up.
I'm like, okay, oh, we're in a huddle. That's great. Let me get my phone out, see what we can look at. And
Talk about slow. I went to the Drillers game last night.
Oh,
that was
baseball's another slow.
talk about slow.
I'm not a fan of baseball either because I think baseball is super slow. But man, my friend Dave Melhoff, he lives and breathes
He's a Pirates
football.
fan.
He is a Pirates fan, and he lives and breathes football to the point where, or I'm sorry, baseball to the point where it's just like I walked into his house on the side of his wall. He's got one of those giant displays of Pirates Stadium
Oh, those
in
cool.
on their wall, and it's just wild.
Why don't you walk in?
Well, no, in his man cave.
Oh, I was about to
It's
say,
the
you gotta
man,
have a
yeah,
man
not in
cave
his
if you're gonna
house.
do
No, no,
that.
not in his house. In his, up in the man cave. So the man, it's a study slash man cave. You okay? Do you think you're gonna sneeze?
Yeah.
That the cool thing about the filter on this is you won't hear it. Like if I go like this, you will
Your
not.
card.
Yeah, you gotta do it now.
There we go.
You won't hear it. What did you do to your finger?
I broke it like a month ago
How did you break your finger?
at a 7-on-7 tournament. Me and Michael were warming up, and he threw a bad ball, and I just skipped him. He did. It was a little low. We won't get into that. Um, it hit the tip of my finger. I thought I just jammed it.
It broke.
Started swelling up a little bit, but it stopped hurting. Swelling went down a little bit, and then it started causing me more pain.
Okay.
So we went and got looked at, and yeah, you broke it. So
Okay.
that's always fun.
So Star Wars for you, Red Dead for you. I'm a Star Wars guy as well. I do like Red Dead though. Call of Duty is one of my favorites as well. And I want you guys to, on a lot of those video games. In fact, those three that we just mentioned, the primary ones, the Star Wars, Red Dead, and Call of Duty. All three of those have in my mind, this is just me, and I know that there will be some that say, "Oh, Caleb, you're stretching here," but that's okay. Has a Christian premise because every one of you have a mission that you have to accomplish. You have a goal. You have a weapon that you typically are going to carry, and you have to defeat an enemy, and you have to sometimes rescue certain people. You have a mission to rescue somebody. That is, in essence, Christianity. Christianity has this mindset of we have a mission, the gospel. We need to advance the gospel, advance the kingdom. And we carry a weapon with us, the word of God. And um, the goal is to see someone rescued, right? To see somebody set free. And so that's the idea of the gospel. And so um, I always like to try to put, anytime I've played video games, I don't always do it, but especially if I'm playing with other people, if there was a guy, he was a youth pastor for a long time, and now he works for Lifeway. Um, and that was how he used to do. You guys don't understand what LAN parties are.
I don't know what LAN parties.
I mean, you might know what they are, but LAN parties back in the day were, you know how you guys, LAN parties are not anything new, but you guys carrying your TVs and your Xboxes with you everywhere you go. Like you guys go to somebody's house, you're like lugging out 17 things of luggage to go to their house and set up your TV and set up your Xbox or your PlayStation and play all these games. That used to happen when I was younger. But they called them LAN parties, and they hook up and connect, and everybody would play. Well, Zach, this guy that was a youth pastor, his ministry was he used, because Call of Duty was a big deal back in the mid 2000s. He used Call of Duty as sort of his platform, and he put the gospel in the middle of Call of Duty, and he would have Bible studies in the midst of while they're playing, or like they would break and they would have a Bible study, and the goal was, hey, this thing that we're doing has a gospel premise, and the gospel premise is we have a mission, we have a weapon, we have a goal of to see someone rescued. And so I find that interesting that those three games that we just mentioned, they're great games. I enjoy playing them. But I think if we start to look at things through the lenses of a gospel-centered mindset, of a Christian young man, Christian older man, have the mindset of Christ is in the middle of everything we do, and everything that we're a part of, Jesus is the premise of that. So I found that, I just wanted to bring that up as part of that. So what do you guys love outside of video gaming? What's some of the things you enjoy, or maybe even would want to get started in doing? What's a new thing you'd like to start? Noah, we'll start with you.
Mixed martial arts.
MMA, and so I know we've been talking about that and looking at trying to set that up in the future. And I think I may end up doing it with you. I'm contemplating doing it with you just to see what happens, and see if we can do some maybe karate or jujitsu or some MMA or something. Just to see. I'm obviously not going to fight you, but
Well,
I mean, but I mean, so okay, cool. That what else?
Uh,
Yeah, you can't think of anything else?
Being more into sports, I guess.
Okay, cool. Doing that.
Just, I think I'm going to a bigger school next year, right?
Okay, that's Lord willing.
Yeah, Wesleyan maybe. I don't know.
Okay,
I'm gonna try out for their football team.
sweet.
Probably not gonna make. I may be able to be a starting position.
Who knows? You never know.
No.
Love it. So one of the things I thought, or I saw that I sort of kind of made fun of him about something lately.
dang.
And he proved me wrong last night. And so I had to eat my own words.
This thing.
This is a fascinating deal. So he started, you guys,
I've been starting to collect football cards.
he has football cards, baseball cards, all this kind of stuff. So he had this one card and he was like, listen, Dad,
I'll tell you the exact amount.
it's worth upwards of like 250, maybe $300. And I just giggled and I was like, there's no way. It gave another thumbs up. That's weird.
It's talking about a good card.
It's talking about a good card. And so I sort of kind of made fun. I was like, there's nobody going to pay money for that card. I mean, if you could give somebody if somebody gave you $15 for a card, I'd be like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
He calls me, where, like, who's doing, okay, that's,
I think it's you.
I don't know. Maybe if I just don't move my hands.
Oh. I think it was in your hands.
That's bananas. Okay. So he calls me last night because he went with Landry and they went to go
to a car show.
To a card show down in Scottshook.
Yeah.
He calls me, he's like, Dad, guess what? And I was like, what? He goes, I just made $180.
Told me about
Thumbs down, right? No, thumbs up. Because I was like,
Thumbs
what?
up.
You made $180 on a card? And so he's like, Dad, I want to start doing this on a regular basis. And so he's buying cards and he has this app on his phone that
yes,
like it's bananas. I didn't like this is like when I was a kid, you had to like hunt and try to figure it out. And so we call
Oh, you still do. People have found the fights.
But no, I mean, like, you didn't have an app to go, bloop, I don't know, what's that worth? Like, you didn't have stuff like that. It was just like
that's just recently. But so it just got made when the pandemic hit 4 years ago.
So it's relatively new.
Yeah, so
I tell you, we got all kinds of new stuff.
It was a dad and son.
A dad and son set it up.
Yeah, his son was like, I need to know how much it's worth, blah blah blah. His dad said he made some video games prior. And he made this little app so he could help his son. He's like, Dad, you should make this public. He's like, okay, make it public. And it just skyrocketed.
Went viral, huh?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Okay. So that I know that he's been doing that. You have got new things going down in your world. What's going on with you?
Like life-wise, what?
Yeah, sure. But like we'll go life-wise.
I mean, I've recently made the decision to go down to a new school in the Collinsville area, and go start high school there. So that's a big new thing that's
So you can
been going on.
playing ball down there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going
Sweet.
there and playing
Are
football.
you
basketball.
nervous? Are you scared or excited? Where you at?
I was at first. Me and my family had to talk, pray a lot about it. I was really nervous at the start. I was nervous to tell people they think this and that, but then I quickly realized I got to do what's best for me and my game, and so it quickly turned into the nervousness. Quickly turned into excitement. I'm ready to get in there and get into what they've got going on.
I love that. So fascinating thing. I've been having I've been wanting to try to grab some different people that be on my podcast and have different interviews. And I've been somewhat nervous because they're not necessarily always going to be in the same wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And you have to realize that you're never going to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be disappointed on some level about some of the things you do, or they may think, they may even think ill of you if you decide to do something that's not what they think is okay. And ultimately, you have to make the decision with the information you have in front of you to make the best decision you can, right? And so, and at the middle of, and the hope is you put Christ in the middle of everything we do. So whether it's playing ball, doing a podcast, doing MMA, doing whatever's coming down the pike, even card trading, right? All those things. Christ, if we as Christian men have to put Christ at the center of all we do, and if we're not putting Christ at the center of what we're doing, then why are we doing it, right? Like, why are we doing it? And so I would say if you, as you guys get older, as you're moving in forward directions, getting older, the primary constant for both of you young guys and any young man that's listening to this podcast, Christ has to be at the center of what you're doing. Like, Christ has to be the primary focus. And if he's not the primary focus, you might win temporarily in this life. You might get riches, you might get fame, you might get whatever. But if Christ is not at the middle of what you're doing, eventually that's going to fall flat on his face. And you lose in the long run. You don't win in the long run, you end up losing. But if you put Christ at the center of what you're doing, then you're absolutely going to win. Like 100% going to win. So that would be just the admonition from me to you guys is what you need to focus on, is keep Christ in the middle of whatever you're doing, whether it's playing video games, right? Or whether it's MMA and punching somebody in the face for the glory of, to the glory of God, right?
The glory of God, come here.
So, or I mean, making a play, if you're playing football and you're sacking somebody, 100%. I mean,
John 3:16.
it's like that's the plan, right?
Psalms 23.
But as you guys move outward, because Noah's my youngest, you're your parents' oldest, and thumbs up, yeah. That is bananas. Like this, it's going to be the whole thing of the podcast. Is for those that are only listening to this audio, the screen keeps popping up, thumbs up emojis and different weird things. I don't understand it. So just as you hear this, you may have by this time you probably tuned the podcast off. I don't know. I want to talk about friendships as you guys move outward in your relationships. And as you advance in your education, you advance in jobs, you advance in things. I want to talk about friendships because friendships matter. Christian friendships absolutely matter. Steve Lawson said, if you show me who you're hanging out with, and I'll show you who you are or who you will eventually become. And if you're hanging out with people that don't love the Lord consistently, if you're hanging out with people that don't prioritize the scriptures, prioritize church, prioritize Christian stuff. I'm trying to think of a better word for that, but it is what it is. Eventually, that's going to be the direction you go. Eventually, that's the direction you're going to go. And how do I know that? Because historically, I've seen it play out, not just in people I know personally, but outwardly, people that I don't really even know, but I've watched them from afar, and they've chased after different things, right? They've chased after stuff that doesn't matter, and they end up falling on their face because they loved Jesus at one point. Like I used to have a guy that was in youth group with me years and years and years ago, and he got as in high school he got a job, and he started working, and he started. I mean, he was so focused on work. Like work, which I'm not anti-work. I'm pro-work. I think you should. Scripture says if you don't work, you don't eat. But this young man, he just wanted to make money, which that's not a bad thing, right? But as dad has said, my dad, if when a good thing replaces the best thing, that good thing becomes a stumbling block, right? Or evil. So he worked and he just church became I'll make it next week. I'll make it next week. I'll make it next week. And next week turned into 3 months, turned into 6 months, turned into a year, turned into I haven't seen him. And the last I heard, he had some run-ins with the law and had some different things that were problematic there. And so I'm like, the primary thing, if you're hanging out with people who are pushing you towards wanting to be more Christ-like, that's the best thing that can happen for you and you. Mark chapter 2 has a story about this. there's a guy who's sick. And I mean, could you guys imagine if one of you guys were sick? And well, you can imagine that. Right now, you guys are right now. Well, both of you right now have allergies that are ridiculous. So I can both of you before the podcast, they're over there just blowing their noses and absolutely just Noah had a whole thing of toilet paper in the end, and I just blowing and blowing and blowing. It's gone now. He's like, I know what happened. I had this giant chunk of something in my face. And I was like, okay, cool. And so, but imagine one of you guys are sick.
Deathly sick, or
like yeah, deathly sick, like
okay.
bad. And what if your friends, there was somebody in town that had the ability to heal you? Jesus. God's the one that's available to heal, right? Had these friends not been actively trying to get their friend to Jesus, what would have happened to that young man? I mean, obviously we can speculate, right? We can guess that he wouldn't have been healed, but he could have died. So in Mark chapter 2, and sorry, I'm old, I got to put glasses on. Jesus gets to the house in Mark chapter 2. He's at his house, and all these people have gathered in. So imagine we're at our house right now. Imagine you can't get in the front door because there's so many people jammed in this room, and Jesus is speaking over here, talking in the corner, and we're trying to get in. We can't get in, right? And how do we know? Because the text tells us that he couldn't get in. They gathered together so that there were so many in the room that not even at the door, and he was preaching the word to them. And when they came to him, bringing the paralytic carried by the 4 men, and they could not get near him because the crowd, they removed the roof above him. And when they had made an opening, they let him down on the bed, which the paralytic was on. And when Jesus saw their faith, so it wasn't just they saw this one man's faith, he saw the faith of his friends. And the faith of your friends can be a determining factor of your spiritual walk. Like if you're hanging out with people that love Jesus supremely and they're pushing towards Christ and they're pushing towards the truth of wanting to know more about Jesus, that's going to affect you. And you need to be a kind of friend that pushes towards Jesus as well. And now we have Charlie. Yeah. Charlie's back. Charlie's come in and he's like, hey, I'm here.
Released.
Charlie's been released. And so now you may see a dog jump up on the podcast. But the idea is that Jesus saw their faith. And if you have friends that are around you who love Jesus a lot, that's going to affect you. If you're one of the friends that love Jesus a lot, that's going to affect you, right? Does that make sense, Noah? Does that make sense, Carter? And the hope that I have for you guys as you move outwardly is that you push to see Jesus be the center of your friendships. That you'd see him be the primary. You all right? Still awake? Okay, just checking. Just you okay? But here's what the podcast doesn't know is and Charlie's here. That both of them they took naps earlier today, and so they're both
nappy awake for a while.
Noah's like, hey, Jesus took naps, or no, your mom's like, hey, Jesus took naps, and so I should take naps too. All right, thank you.
Thanks for the guest appearance.
So guest appearance by Charlie. But this is one of those things that I want to try to help you guys understand and help our listeners understand as well, that who you're hanging out with can affect your spiritual walk. And if you're focused on trying to help your friends know Jesus well, that's going to be beneficial to them and to you. I heard a podcast recently, and the guy that was talking about a king's table, putting people around your table who are for you. He uses David as the example, having a Joab was his military guy, David's military guy that was willing to go to war for him. You have guys that are willing to go to war for you, guys that are willing to fight for you. And then he talks about a Jonathan. And if you know historically who Jonathan was the guy that loved David immensely. Him and David and Jonathan had a brotherly, just close bond of love for one another, just a Christ-centered, godly love for one another. Do you have a Jonathan at your table? And then the second or the third guy was a Nathan, somebody that's willing to confront you lovingly on your sin. To say, hey, you could be the man that needs to repent. And if you have those three guys, and I would also add, even though it's not, I'll blend some New Testament. I would add a Barnabas in there because Barnabas was a historically an encourager, somebody that's willing to encourage and help and encourage you in your walk. So I would add the fourth guy at your table. So somebody that's an encourager, a lover of your soul, and a guy who's willing to go to war for you, and another guy that's willing to confront you on your sins. And I'm telling you, if we have guys like that around our tables, holy smoke, we as men, this generation of men, I think is going to win. So that would be my hope for you guys as you get older and you step out into the different places in this world, that you'd put Christ in the center and you'd have friends in your circle that love Jesus well, and occasionally have a dog jump up on you.
Guest appearance.
There he is
too.
for the second time. Charlie, ladies and gentlemen, Charlie. Can you get a thumbs up on Charlie? Can we do that? I don't know.
Nope.
So, okay, final thoughts. As young men, if you could sit your friends down and who maybe aren't as excited for the things of Jesus, what would be something you would say to them? What's one thing you would look at them and say, hey, you need to know this?
Like a question, like a statement you would say to them, or just
give them a statement of you want them to understand the gospel.
We should. I would say, hey, we should have a Bible study. Yeah, we should have like the Roman road and all that.
Okay, so Bible study would be you want to set up and have a Bible study with friends. If they did, if they weren't pursuing the Lord, you say, hey, I'd love to set up a time for us to get together and study the Word.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. Love that.
I do. I'm more of the kind of guy. I'm not going to give you the choice. You're sitting with me. I'm gonna tell you the hard truth.
You're just like, hey, this is what it is. So you would be the Nathan at the table. Is that what you're saying?
I would be. Look,
So you're the Nathan of the table.
I would be the guy who go to war.
So you'd be the war. You'd be the Joab. You'd be willing to fight for somebody. Okay. So we got a Nathan and a Joab. Those are great. And so you need those guys. Those are the kind of guys that are, I think, historically, guys, we stink at friendships. Like you do it well as young men. Like you guys, that's one thing I love about your friendship group is you guys are willing to hang out with one another. And what's fascinating is you guys are all different to some degree. Like I look at like you, and I look at Noah, I look at Landry, I look at the twins, and I look at how everybody has this difference that is, but everybody's still like you guys are still such a tight knit group of guys, and I love that about you as young men. But what stinks is as you get older, life hits you in the face, and you can those friendships can fall away. And I'm telling you, as an older man, having godly friendships now are something I wish I still, because I still have some good friends, but I want to have a bunch of guys at my table that help push me towards the goodness of who Jesus is, who push me towards understanding that God's word is the preeminent thing. Does that make sense? So that would be an encouragement from me to you guys. Just don't lose that. Don't lose because life's going to hit you. Like you guys are going to get busy doing everything you're going to be doing. Don't lose time for hanging out with one another, fellowshipping, community, because I think that's how we maintain. That's the reason. I mean, you look at the church. That's the church in Hebrews talks about don't neglect to gather together. Why? Because that's the idea of we're built by God to be in community. We're built by God to be close to one another and to work towards being edified and being set apart by God. And I don't mean work saved by works. I mean progressive sanctification happens in a community setting. Let's get around the word and let's just chop shop, right? Let's just make it happen, right? So that's that. I guess that would be my encouragement to you guys. All right, as we finish up, I don't want to bore you guys or our listeners. Anything else you would like to talk about?
Star Wars.
More Star Wars? Yeah. Who's your okay? All right,
who's your favorite Jedi?
Who's your favorite character
in Skywalker? No debate.
Debate.
There's no debate.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. There is a debate. Obi-Wan.
Now we've got a makings of a church split. We've got the church of Obi-Wan and the church of Anakin. Insane.
Obi-Wan Solos.
You what?
Obi-Wan Solos. Anakin.
Obi-Wan Solos Anakin.
Yeah, right? He did it when he was old. He did it when he was young. He did it every single time. He might be the chosen one, but that's Cap. He's not the chosen one. He joined the Sith.
I mean,
Luke is the chosen one. Luke is the chosen one.
Well, I mean,
he ultimately died and balanced the Force for.
He technically, yeah, he took like, but here's the thing: I don't think that episodes 7, 8, and 9 should be canon.
They're not canon.
I think that it's like they need to get out. They be thrown out of canon because he threw the Emperor down the shaft. He shafted. He should be dead, and that they brought him back is just.
They're trying to. It was a cash grab.
I think it was a cash grab. I'm hoping that they just delete those whole things.
One of those movies were good. That was the very first one that came out. It wasn't bad, and then they just
terrible.
They tried to do too much.
I agree. Yes. See, I'm agreeing with the screen. It says thumbs down. 100%. Yes. So I would say, yeah, the first one had potential.
They made Luke into a sissy.
They did. I think the second one, he could have grabbed that lightsaber and be like, "Let's go fight the battle," because that was the Luke that
they did ruin Luke Skywalker.
They did, and
I don't want to fight.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw my lightsaber onto the back of the thing. So yeah.
And okay, there's a hot take. Qui-Gon Jinn is probably would have if he would have trained. So for me it goes Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Anakin. It's a hot take because if Qui-Gon stayed alive and trained Anakin, there would be no Darth Vader.
Question. What goes on in your brain? What?
Qui-Gon Jinn. Bro, Qui-Gon Jinn.
Little nerves or whatever.
What kind of nerves do you think?
Okay, so why do you think why do you think Anakin?
I just
because Balin Levine.
No.
Why Anakin?
Quickly went downhill. We'll get into that. That's some of these stuff about on
podcast. So why Anakin then?
I personally believe it's more so. I've always looked at Star Wars from. Could be a stretch. People will probably say it is. I've looked at it from a Christian standpoint and thought it's so much like a Christian lifestyle.
Okay.
Because people will say Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, all of them, they were pastors or whatever. They were growing. So they were growing a Christian kid into a great man and saw he had potential to do things amazing for the works of God.
Sure.
And then got twisted up with some
friendship matters.
Evil.
Who you're hanging out with matters. Who you're getting influence from matters. Palpatine's the bad. Like I
got mixed up with that.
I'm a nerd when it comes to movies as well, and I see because here's the thing: Christians should be the best storytellers, and when I see stories told like that, you've got good versus evil, and there's a mission that needs to be held or needs to be had, and there's somebody that needs to be rescued. That's this. Good versus evil, and somebody needs to be rescued, and there's a mission at stake. That is this. Back to the video games, Call of Duty, right? Like that's all those things are. I 100% would not disagree with you.
Qui-Gon still is better.
I-
Because okay, here's a theory. If,
Got sliced up in the first movie.
which I think is,
But
and that's what I'm saying with all the new stuff. Everybody else gets sliced up.
and they get healed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, I wish we could have some force healing. Oh, wait, we can. I'm like, where did that come from?
Yeah. What?
Qui-Gon would have loved force healing. That would have been fantastic.
If Qui-Gon was younger, he would have soloed Darth Maul. This just from my standpoint. What if Qui-Gon that should be a what if Star Wars. What if Qui-Gon trained Anakin? Because
Then I think he would have been 1,000 times better.
Oh, I agree. I think
He
it
would
would
have
have
been
been
1,000 times wiser.
I think Qui-Gon was the better
Yeah,
trainer.
100%.
100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Obi-Wan more so turned it into a friendship, which is good.
Brother.
Which is good.
Yeah.
But I think it would have been so much more important for Anakin to have Qui-Gon because Qui-Gon was way more older. He was more wiser. He would have made a great friendship with him, but he would have mentored him a lot better.
it would have been like a
100%.
father
And I think
situation.
then I think Anakin would have been able to see the evil in, which
Yeah,
he did. But then
eventually he did, but he had wreckage and carnage, which is here's another hot take from me. Charlie's sniffing the door.
That was not that was an inhale.
So this will be so yeah, this is what happens when I went blank.
Third time, boys.
Third time's a charm. So who you have mentor you? That's not what I wanted to say. I just went blank. I'm sorry, podcast. It left me. It just.
But yeah, Qui-Gon is. Wait, who's the best Sith for you?
Darth Vader. There's no question about that.
Vader's
easily the best Sith of all time.
Yeah,
Arguably one of the best villains of all time.
I agree.
He would be on my Mount Rushmore of villains, but there's so many Sith that are good. It just Darth
Actually,
Vader.
none of them
Be
are
careful,
good.
be
They're
careful
all-
with your words there.
They're
Well,
none of them
my bad. Or cool-ish.
coolish. Okay.
Like there's Darth Maul. He has a double lightsaber sword. And then you have I can't remember his name. He has a purple and a red lightsaber. And he just goes like that.
It's just like that.
And he has a cool mask. He's like Darth Vader, but like
But not as good.
Well,
he turned to the good side as well, but he still used the red lightsaber.
that's it. Well, this is how we're going to end the podcast. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for having the conversation. Thanks for listening to some of the good
Darth Vader's the
stuff out of the word. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys on the flip side.